Hello, and you are listening to another Tech and Tonic podcast. You are listening to the Tech and Tonic podcast, episode 10 of season 2. And Tech and Tonic is the place where we talk about tech, right? You're joining me and Darwin and Jeevan again. I almost said me
Yo.
and Darwin. Yeah.
Did you find a clone this weekend?
No. I didn't find anything like that. But anyway, you're joining me, Darwin, and Jeevan again to talk about all things tech. If you want to find us on social media, we are techENT TV, TECHENT TV across all social media. That includes Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and even LinkedIn. We also have a site. Check out our site at www.techent.tv. That is www.techent.tv. Right, let's get into the week because the last week has been really quiet.
Yeah, it's been surprisingly quiet actually.
It's been so quiet.
It's actually been very quiet for the past few weeks. But
yeah.
It might be calm before the storm because I/O is coming up.
Yes, Google I/O
WWDC is coming
up. Yeah, even Apple's WWDC, yes, that's coming as well. You know, major announcements are expected in WWDC, not in Google I/O, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Or at least that's what we heard. We don't know yet, right? So we're going to wait for that and we're going to see. But anyway, there are still things happening last week, okay? Like Google Assistant just got sort of a new update, right? And it's supposed to be smarter. Now, I don't know. Google Assistant is already smart enough, I think.
Yeah, unless it doesn't respond to you.
Yeah, I think that's the fault of the phone's AI trying to understand who you're calling.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's smart enough. I mean, Google Assistant is kind of like a big part of our life now. But yeah, it's just getting smarter. And it will keep getting smarter with more data and new updates. It's inevitable. We're going to live in an AI world. We already are. And Spotify is with Facebook now.
Yeah, they've got a small baby player that will follow you to help you discover music nowadays. Well, in select countries though.
Yeah, but at the same time, there was some price increase in Europe, I think, and it's quite a major price increase. It's not really an increase anymore. It's just
it's between 1 and 2 pounds or 1 and 3 euros for depending on which plan you're on.
It's an inflation. That's the word I'm looking for, right?
And the problem now is that we might be getting it here.
Ooh, yeah. 2 pounds translates to about 5 ringgit to 8 ringgit, somewhere there.
Yeah, and
yeah,
we're already paying 24 ringgit for the family plan.
Yeah, somewhere there.
So it's gonna cost as much as Netflix with the next price increase.
Might be, and that's not something nice that we want to hear. Anyway, iOS 14.5 is also out now. Okay, I think you can start downloading it in different countries. I'm not sure whether Malaysia has gotten it just yet because the last I checked with a friend who owns an iPhone, because both of us don't use iPhones, the iOS 14.5 has not been released for Malaysia just yet. There's a few updates that comes with 14.5, including unlocking your phone with the Google Watch. Not Google Watch, sorry, Apple Watch. Yeah. Which is something that Google Android had a long time ago. But never mind that. The support to AirTag is coming. So AirTag will be sold in Malaysia soon. Okay, that will come as well. Yeah.
I think that's about it. iOS.
Yes, that's mostly it. They say that it is the biggest launch, or at least the biggest update to iOS 14, right? Compared to iOS 15. So if you want to know more about it, you just read it on our website. You know, we mentioned everything there. Apparently, there's a better algorithm for maps, and now it's crowdsourced and whatnot. But just read all about it. www.techent.tv, guys. Yeah.
Yep.
Dell released a new laptop. Not really laptop, a detachable kind of. The Latitude detachable?
Yeah, Latitude 6. Wait, it has a number. So it's
what
the
number?
Latitude 7320 detachable.
Right, that's okay. That their numbering system is confusing. But
so they've actually asked us to mention specifically the number because
right.
it changes with every generation. So this is the 7320 detachable.
It's Core i7 11th generation Core i7 unit, I think.
Yeah, so it ranges for Malaysia. We start at Core i5.
Okay.
But other countries have a little bit more leeway with what they can choose.
On the side of laptop, also Samsung launched, not in Malaysia just yet lah, these things, okay? They launched a certain Galaxy Book. A Galaxy Book Pro, Galaxy Book Pro 360, a Galaxy Book, and a Galaxy Book Odyssey. Like a whole range of new laptops, and they claim to be working very closely with Intel and Microsoft to sort of include the whole smart things ecosystem, the Galaxy ecosystem within the Galaxy Book, which I actually think is a brilliant idea. You can actually use like your Samsung Galaxy Tab as a second screen with the Galaxy Books. I think that's quite brilliant. And with that also they improve your phone app, which I don't know will come to other Windows device or not lah.
I think it should, but also given the form factor, especially for the Galaxy Book Odyssey, oh my god, it looks so pretty.
It does, and it looks really thin.
Yeah.
Anybody who says that they cannot make a thin laptop without compromising the ports, you should see how Samsung designed their Galaxy Book Pro.
Yeah, I was actually surprised they had all the I/O ports that you need.
Yeah, which is really, really, really surprising, right? But anyway, that brings us to our sponsor. This episode of Tech and Tonic is brought to you by Acer.
Yeah, did you know that their new Acer Nitro 5 is finally hitting the market? Yeah, it comes with an AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX processor.
No way.
So,
and it also comes with an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3080. Do you know that?
That means that I guess you're going to be able to play all the AAA titles that you ever could on a laptop.
Of course you could. And you get a 15.6-inch Quad HD display with 165 Hz refresh rate.
And you also have ray tracing thanks to NVIDIA's RTX graphics. Yes, so you can game till your eyes bleed because of the beautiful display.
Yes. Pre-order starts on the May 10th to 12th, and it will be priced at 8,999 ringgit. But paying that price also means that you get a lot of freebies, and they get giving out freebies worth up to more than 1,000 ringgit.
Oh, 1,000 ringgit. So technically, you're not really paying that much for all that specs.
Okay, so let's get back into it. And yeah, Vivo also launched something last week, right?
Vivo's been on a roll in the past 2 months.
They've been launching phone after phone after phone after phone.
Yeah, and I think they just launched another phone today, which you will hear about next week.
Right. So last week they actually launched something called the V21, the Vivo V21 series, and apparently it comes with a selfie camera, 48 megapixel or something rather like that, with optical and electronic image stabilization. So there's an OIS, like a gimbal inside that little notch that they put on top of your screen.
Yeah, and it's interesting that Vivo is the one coming up with the new stuff when it comes to cameras.
Correct. And last few weeks also they launched the X60?
Yeah, so Malaysia saw the launch of the X60 series ending with the X60 Pro.
Yeah, and it launched with a Zeiss lens, if I'm not wrong, right? Is that right?
This round, yes. If I'm not mistaken, it's Zeiss lens.
Mm-hmm.
No, the Zeiss lens is only in the Pro Plus.
Right. Now,
So it comes with Zeiss algorithm, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, so this whole collaboration thing is not the first time we see on a smartphone lah. You first see it with Leica and Huawei, right? Is it Leica or Leica?
I think.
Leica.
But
Okay.
at the same time, I think it's not the first time we've seen Zeiss partnering with the smartphone.
It's not also, yes, that's correct. They actually partnered with Nokia first.
Yep.
Yeah, and that was a long time ago. But Zeiss didn't become a very big part of the smartphone camera market until now, kind of, right? And they're not the only ones who wants to get into the smartphone camera market. Like, you saw OnePlus launching with Hasselblad. Yeah, their OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro launching with Hasselblad, Hasselblad algorithm or Hasselblad co-developed camera.
I think it's algorithm at this point, not so much hardware. When it comes
not
to
so much
Hasselblad.
hardware, no.
But when it comes to Vivo,
Mm-hmm.
they have guaranteed that we will be seeing more from their partnership with Zeiss. So
Yeah.
it could mean that we're getting hardware soon.
Yeah, but everybody is promising that anyway, right? Still, this also brings the question of, is your phone, well, your smartphone camera better than your normal everyday DSLR or the new mirrorless, or are those cameras still relevant?
I think when it boils down to it, Isa might have said this the first time we were discussing this. The best camera that you have is the camera that is in your pocket or the one that is with you all the time.
That is true, and that means your smartphone is technically your best camera at any given time, because your smartphones now carry like super megapixel cameras. Like, I carry a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra as a daily driver, and I have the ability to shoot at 108 megapixel. Given, I have to go into the settings and change a few things. I'm reviewing the Mi 11, which also shoots at 108 megapixels, but you have to go into special mode for that, right?
Yeah. But at the same time, do we need so many pixels on a smartphone camera?
No.
I think we were discussing this the other day, and we were like, in the end, if you're printing your pictures, the most you're going to print is a 4R size or maybe an A4 size.
That is true. And if you're going to use your camera in the studio, it doesn't make that much sense if you're going to print your photos from your smartphone, if you're going to take photos in the studio, because for that you actually really want a medium format, right? And even today's mirrorless cameras that rivals a medium format, they say that the A7R4, for example, with 64 megapixel rivals a mirrorless. I hardly think that anything in the market currently has anything against a mirrorless, a medium format mirrorless camera, or medium format cameras for the matter.
I think that brings up the question of what you're using your camera for. Like, content creators may need a slight edge when it comes to quality of camera, and I agree that certain footage you do need a mirrorless or a full-on DSLR camera.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, if you're a enthusiast or you're an everyday Joe, I don't think you need to spend that. Like, it's not a cheap hobby having cameras.
Oh, no, it's not. Well, if you're going for a full frame, don't say you're going for a medium format, okay? Because if you're trying to go for a medium format, you are either really rich or you are using it to make a living, okay? You are using it to make a living in a studio or for prints, or you are a proper artist who needs that kind of resolution and detail. But for a full frame, let's say oh my gosh, my words, a Sony Alpha 7C, and this is the most compact full frame camera to date that I know of. Okay, and that still sets you back nearly 10,000 ringgit for just the body. Okay, and you haven't considered the lenses. The lenses to fit a full frame camera usually ranges anywhere between 500 ringgit all the way to 13, 14,000 or even 20,000 for that matter, depending on what lens you use, obviously. But oh my gosh, it's still a very, very big investment compared to a smartphone, which is like what a Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra is still like at the most 5,000.
Yeah, and to be very honest, you don't even need to go that far. Look, even the Galaxy A72 this year has a pretty decent camera.
Right.
And to be very honest, I think it's good enough for you to do whatever you want as a parent or even as a photography enthusiast. You don't need a S21 or a P40 or a Mate 40 to actually justify having a good camera. The mid-range is where we are seeing a lot of better innovations come out at the moment.
That is true as well. But here's the thing with smartphone cameras. You have to remember, okay, however much megapixels they offer you, let's say they offer you a 64 megapixel camera or a main camera or whatnot, you're going to always have to remember that whatever default photo mode that you're taking your photos in, you're only getting 12 megapixels. No more than that. Like, 12, they don't tell you that. No manufacturer will ever tell you that. But you are actually taking photos at 12 megapixels if you don't change your settings.
I think at maximum you're getting 16 megapixels.
No. So for the Samsung Galaxy S21 Ultra, if you are actually taking photo with your 108 megapixel camera at 108 megapixel, or even the Mi 11 that I'm testing for that matter, if you're shooting at 108 megapixels, you are getting about 107 point something lah with the calculator. But at the same time, you're not going to get the same level of detail as you get from, let's say, not even a full frame camera, from even an APS-C compact compact sensor camera, a crop sensor, you know. And we're not even talking about the A7 already here. We're talking about in the range of the Nikon D5300, the 5500s, right?
Yeah.
Or even the Canon 3000 series.
Yeah. So basically, those are all your entry level mirrorless at this point.
They're not mirrorless. They're DSLRs.
They're DSLRs.
Yeah.
So, when you're looking at it, like, if you're taking a picture with a phone, how detailed do you want it?
That is true.
Like, seriously, the only reason you take pictures with your phone at this point is because it's the most convenient camera that you have on you. You might be celebrating a birthday, you might be doing something with your friends, or maybe just even like you came across a really beautiful scenery and you just want to capture it for memory. You're not purposefully going there to capture the essence of nature.
That is true, but I do think that, you know, smartphones do have the ability to at least offer that you know, whatever that you just said. Actually, like I don't know how to describe it, right? But the smartphones of today, if you actually know how to use them properly, okay, I think does offer those as well. Because I think with that much megapixel, right, you do get details. You're not gonna get the same details or level of details, or even like the low light sensitivity of a bigger sensor. But at the same time, I think with that much megapixel, some phones do offer that kind of ability to capture nature and basically use it as an art piece, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, given if you're not blowing it up to billboard proportions, yeah, by all means.
Obviously not. Don't do that.
Yeah, but as I think each camera has its space. The smartphone has its space as a go-to camera for memories, for capturing things that grab your eye, or let's say you just walk and you see a beautiful wall in a building.
Mm-hmm.
That impromptu picture is where the smartphone comes in.
Right.
But if you're saying that, oh, I'm going on a photography trip,
Mm-hmm.
and I am thinking of capturing this. Let's say it's a trip up a river. You want to capture wildlife. You want to capture certain images from the river.
Mm-hmm.
Smartphones can't do that just yet.
Yeah, there is some truth in that. I agree. But at the same time, I think also at the same time, what really matters is the guy that's taking the photo, right? The guy behind the lens, basically, behind the smartphone, behind your camera. And I don't doubt that while you say that the hardware don't really match the purposes sometimes, like let's say, oh, I need to go up a mountain to do this shoot, to do that shoot, to shoot like flora and fauna at the national park or something, you might want something like a macro lens or even slightly longer lens for different purposes, like let's say bird watching or trying to capture an animal from slightly further. I think yes, in some sense you do need some better gear, but it really depends on the person that's taking the picture lah. I think if you are a great photographer but you have no other tool except for your smartphone, however you're going to produce your work, you're still going to get it done, and you're still going to get it done really well, because we have seen that, right?
Yeah.
And even for us, when we shoot our videos, a lot of times our videos are shot on our smartphone.
Yeah, and to be very honest, like when it comes to things like our videos and even some content out there, we actually have a lot of planning that goes into it.
Yeah.
A lot of thinking of how you want to frame this shot. How would you want people to react to this shot? It's a lot of thinking and planning, and sometimes it's exactly what you said. It's the person behind the camera. Even if you're not planning it, you've already got a picture in your head, like, I want this shot, and I'm going to try to get this shot the best I can.
Yeah. So, do we need another camera?
I think we don't really need a secondary camera, but with the amount of innovation, like even in Vivo's X60 series, the fact that the X60 Pro and the X60 Pro Plus comes with that gimbal, it makes creating content a lot easier. So you don't really have to spend on something like the OM4 or another gimbal, external gimbal, if you're just trying to fool around.
Right.
Or just trying to experiment. You have phones like the X60, which if you're looking for a daily driver, it will do very well as your daily driver, and it's also able to take like super steady shots.
Yeah, and I can testify to that, right? Because I've actually tested the gimbal function with the X60 camera, not just with the photo taking ability, because the gimbal also works for video, and it does help a lot when you're shooting videos, right? Yeah. And oh my gosh, it's so steady. It's no movement at all. It's nice, okay? But I still do think that if you are going to try to create content with the X60, I still do think that you might want to get an extra stabilizer from a third party, maybe from DJI themselves, to get the OM4, basically that phone stabilizer thingy thing that we both use from time to time to create our contents. I think that would be good, but it's really up to each individual, right?
Yeah, and I think the most important thing is you're using a tool that you are comfortable with. Like for me, I've even shot footage on the S21 Ultra when I was reviewing it. But in the end, the phone that I was most comfortable using is still my Note 10 Plus.
Right.
And since the camera sensors is not that great compared to the S21 Ultra, and there's not much when it comes to software features on the Note 10 Plus, at least at that point in time, I still defaulted to it because it's the camera I knew the best.
Right.
And I think this also applies to photographers. You don't see them changing cameras like every time a new camera comes out.
Although they want to.
Yes, although they want to. But it's a matter of knowing your tools. So spend some time, get to know what your features are, how to use those features. Like one feature that I have been experimenting on my Note 10 Plus is actually its Pro video mode, where I can actually shoot using different mics. So the back mic, front mic, even a Bluetooth headset mic. So getting to know what you can do with your tools, in getting to know your tool itself inside out. I think Darwin does this very well. He knows everything about the tool that he's using every time he uses it. Yeah. Like even when it comes to using cameras, he does his research before he actually starts using it.
Well,
whereas
yeah.
I'm the type that will just take and start playing around and learn it as I go.
Well, yeah. But anyway, before we end, we don't have a lot of time anymore here.
Yeah.
So, in that sense, do you think a camera is still relevant? Like a proper, not to say just DSLR, you know, while we can eliminate point and shoot these days, right? We are talking about, you know, even like an entry level crop sensor, SLR, DSLR. Do you think it's still relevant?
I think it does have its place, but it's not for every Tom and Dick and Harry to use.
Yeah.
Because to be very honest, you have a phone that can do a lot.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? For me, I feel like while they are still relevant, for some purposes, for professional use, you know, or for even like an enthusiast level use, I do think that if you are an enthusiast at this point of time, with the amount of innovation that comes from a smartphone and its cameras, including people like Hasselblad, Leica, you know, and HUAWEI is just pushing the boundaries. Sony is pushing the boundaries with Alpha. Samsung with their own sensor, you know, and even Vivo trying to get a hold of that market. Oppo having that microscopic camera thing on their Find X3, right? I think with all these things, if you are an enthusiast and you have a budget, I'm going to go with what Isa said before. You really don't need an extra camera. You don't need to fork out a lot of money just for a camera, because a camera could mean an extra 2,000-3,000 ringgit of, you know, initial investment. You're not even talking about buying your lenses just yet, right?
Yeah.
And your smartphone can do so much more now. Like what Jeevan says, okay, I like to do a little bit of research and look into what's going on with the camera or whatever gear I use first. And when I first picked up the Xiaomi Mi 11, at least, right? And I tried to discover what it can actually do. I'm like, oh my gosh, have we come to a point where we don't actually need to buy an extra camera? Even if we just because we're an enthusiast, we don't really need to buy another camera, you know? Could now the full frame cameras, the full frame SLR or mirrorless cameras, or even medium formats, could those be reserved just for professionals now? You know,
I think it will really depend on where camera sensors in smartphones go. Like we are seeing a lot of high megapixel cameras, but what's more important now is that a lot of these high megapixel cameras are not just giving you megapixels, they're giving you detail. So I think the best option, the best example I can think of in my head is what Samsung is doing with the S21 Ultra's camera. They are basically binding more than 1 megapixel together to give you more detail, more better low light performance, and I think that's where the megapixels count. It's not when you're printing it out.
True. But you also have to remember here, okay, nothing beats a bigger sensor, because the bigger sensors also means you capture more light, and photography is basically that capturing light or capturing things that you're seeing in front of you, but it's basically a capturing of light. Okay, so I think nothing replaces a larger sensor for ultimate detail and print quality, or even sometimes color science. But I feel like smartphones are really edging towards that because they can fit so many things inside a smartphone, like the AI algorithm, the smart sensors, or even additional sensors to keep up and add details into your camera. And I think that's where smartphones really win, in some sense. Don't you think?
And I think it's very important to take note of that, because a lot of us aren't going into the smartphone camera, flipping it to pro mode and shooting using that.
Even I seldom do that.
We're literally just taking the phone out of our camera, going to the shortcut to take a picture, and clicking.
Yeah.
And if you're using a Samsung device, you're probably going into single take mode if you're trying to do more than one piece of content.
Yeah, but at the same time, I seldom use the single take mode. Like, I rarely use the single take mode just because you don't really need it.
Yeah.
Or at least I feel sometimes you don't really need it lah. It's more, to me, gimmicky than a lot of things. Because while I like the single take mode, right? Most of the time, when you flip out the camera, it's not going to be in a single take mode. Is going to be in the regular photo mode, and now I've set it on default to 108 megapixels mode, but it's still going to flip back to that mode. It's not going to go on single take mode.
Yeah, and to be very honest, until companies can take advantage of that 108 megapixels with features, it's not going to go very far.
That is true. Anyway, I think that is all the time we have for today's topic, because I think we've gone overboard a little bit here. But anyway, it's been fun talking about cameras, because this is a debate that kind of never ends, and it's not going to end anytime soon, because there's going to be new innovations, not in just smartphone cameras, in regular cameras of today as well. They're going to try to integrate even more stuff in today's camera for them to even catch up with the technology, right? And smartphones cameras still has, I think, a long way to go, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that for today. Thank you guys, all of you, for listening to today's podcast. And if you have any feedback, you have anything that you want to tell us, you can reach out to us on our email. You can find that email on our website, which is www.techent.tv, or you can reach out to us on all our social media, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, and even on Instagram. We are techENT TV across all of them. That is TECHENT TV across all these platforms. Now, if you want to give us a topic, you can reach out to us too, right?
Yeah, and I think something that we haven't mentioned before, if you're listening on Google Podcasts and Apple Podcasts, give us a review. We'd like to know how we're doing.
Oh yeah, do let us know. Yeah, definitely. We would love to hear what you think of the podcast. Anyway, that is all the time we have for now. This has been me, Darwin, and Jeevan from Tonic. We will see you next week. Bye bye.
See ya.